Fasten your seatbelts and let us take the wheel. Now, your ride is about to begin.
Cruise control.
Because you're on cruise control. Cruise control. Cruise control.
Hey, welcome to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. As the intro said, I'm Les Jackson. The other guy over here is Fred Staub. We, of course, are here each and every week. We're live on Saturdays, and if you've listened to us for several decades, you know we're going to have an awful lot to talk about the industry.
That's true, Les. We've got a lot going on, and some of those stories that we have coming up are kind of a big transition, a paradigm shift, as they say in the automotive industry.
Yep.
And that's always a big one to report on, but we're going to start with VW. VW doubles down on its new corporate approach to sell fewer vehicles, but at a much higher price. So that means things like Golf, Jetta might not be making the trip.
Well, you're right. And of course, there's a danger to that because, maybe people will buy other brands. But speaking of other brands, meanwhile, over at GM and Toyota, they're teaming up to build quality, affordable EV cars and crossover CUVs.
Yeah, that's right. And, they're doing that because of just what we had said first, that Volkswagen is deciding to just kind of go with high-end vehicles. And, so I think this is a real market. And we'll have some thoughts on that in the future here. But Ford's Lightning sets the pace at the NASCAR race in Martinsville this week. We'll talk about that. That's the first time for the Lightning to be doing something like that, and probably not the last, right?
Probably not the last. And Kia prices out its all-new 40-mile-per-gallon Sportage Hybrid. The Sportage has just been a huge success for years. 40 miles per gallon is awfully tempting.
Yeah, that is a good number for these days, especially with the prices at the pump. And also, sign of the times, talking about prices at the pump, Les, credit card companies have had to make changes because of high fuel prices. We'll tell you what that is.
Well, it doesn't mean the charges are lower.
No.
But, we'll explain it.
Yeah, we will certainly explain it. We're going to take a quick break and be right back with Cruise Control after this. When we come back, we're going to talk about the change in Volkswagen, moving away from the people's car into the VIP people. And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staub. Along for the ride, as always, is Les Jackson. And we are glad you are here because there's a lot going on in the automotive industry. As many of you know, things are getting a lot more expensive, both from the manufacturers and from dealers as well. And we've talked a lot about that on Cruise Control. But this is an interesting story, Les. Volkswagen is apparently changing its strategy. They used to be, when they started out, they were the people car of the people, right?
People's car.
People's
The
car.
most affordable,
car out there.
Yeah, for decades.
Yeah. Well, seems like that may be no more. I mean, for a while there, I remember about a year ago, a couple of years ago, they wanted to surpass Toyota as the largest manufacturer of vehicles. And for a short time, I believe they did, and then Dieselgate hit, and that kind of took them down. Now their new strategy is, though, they want to be basically a high-end manufacturer. They want to sell less cars at higher prices and make more money. So they expect to do this by 2035 and sell things like the ID Buzz and other products. I think on that ID Buzz, I think a lot of Volkswagen aficionados that have been waiting for that for a long time are going to be surprised. They're going to sell that thing for easily from the factory for $70,000, $80,000, I bet.
Yeah.
And with markups, it's going to be well over 100,000, wouldn't you say?
Well, yeah, but they'll still sell it because there are just so many enthusiasts out there that want, a new version of the old mini microbus. And 2035 is 13 years away.
Yeah.
So they're going to sneak up on this
strategy,
stacking up lots of profit. But it's, and I'm not sure I do, but do you think the other manufacturers are looking at this and saying, why should we sell low margin cars just because of CAFE standards or just because of anything? Why don't we just sell high profit stuff and not bother with the others?
I think some manufacturers will think that. And I think buying a car will be almost analogous to buying a house in Japan where they're so expensive, people never pay them off. It's just like a monthly fee. I think owning a car for many will be a thing of the past. It will just be a monthly payment, but that could be a very high monthly payment, $1,000 or more.
And you just get used to it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and then the price just keeps going up and up and up. Remember, I still insist that electric cars are less complex to build. Therefore, there's a higher profit margin. But when you add in things like self-driving capability and that, they have to invest big in that to transition over. These are transitional cars. Thing of it is, I think some manufacturers will go like Volkswagen, but then let's move into our next story. And that was a big story this week with GM and Honda talking about developing cars together and developing affordable cars together, Les Jackson, which means that the great thing about business, if someone leaves one segment, like if Volkswagen leaves the affordable segment, somebody else will come in to fill their shoes, right?
Well, you're right. And that's always the case. So maybe, and now granted, the profit margin on something more affordable is lower, but if you're selling millions of them, you make a lot of money. This brings up another thing. GM and Honda, and we see these partnerships, I'm not going to say mergers,
right,
in the industry. About 30 years ago, a friend of mine was talking about the airline industry, and he said, eventually all of these airlines are going to merge with each other, and we're only going to have 3 or 4 major airlines doing all the flying. Well, guess what?
He was right. He was right.
He was right.
And it continues on today, mergers. And
I see no reason why that won't eventually happen with the auto industry.
Yeah.
What's to keep it from happening?
Well, the other thing, too, I think people always look for the area that they can play in that no one else is filling. I think you will see, my view, who will become the leader in electric car production? Kia and Hyundai. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I also think you'll see manufacturers like VinFast from Vietnam build small, affordable EVs because they can really, really, really lower the cost of manufacturing. It's interesting, like this announcement we just talked about, that Toyota and GM want to build efficient cars, and who knows? Maybe they'll buy a VinFast or something and do it that way. But it's, I worry about that people are going to say, oh, wow, I want the Hummer EV or whatever. I mean, I don't mean to pick on that, but that just happens to be one that's selling for over hundreds of thousands when you take the markup.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think people would really it's like what I used to see. I remember driving across Canada, and people would have a house that was swayback, but they had that brand new Trans Am in the front yard with the Screaming Chicken on the hood.
That's right. That's very true. It's a matter of personal priorities and other things, but there's one thing for sure, and that's the entire industry is changing right in front of our eyes.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And it's not just going to electric cars. It's changing the philosophy, moving car manufacturers from manufacturers to tech companies or what you and I have talked about where they're actually doing they'll be subscription based. You want a certain feature like Mercedes talks about doing the steering, the four-wheel steering. It's just a change in how they're doing business, and this VW story I think is one of the biggest ones about how they'll be changing, especially with that brand, because that brand, of course, was the brand of the people, right?
Exactly. And they sold, 21 million Beetles the first time.
Right.
And I don't know how many million the second time, but
right.
A lot.
But now they're the brand of some more fancier brands, Porsche.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at what's popular with Volkswagen, it's the SUVs.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, moving on here, let's talk about Ford, the Ford Lightning, pacing a NASCAR race this weekend at Martinsville. I think that's an interesting task for it. Of course, it's got plenty of horsepower to do it, 563 horsepower. Of course, pickup trucks and NASCAR go together very well.
Sure do.
And they have up to 200,000 reservations for the Lightning, which is amazing. And I think a lot of them will be converted into sales. But just look at the numbers for the Lightning again. It bears repeating: 563 horsepower, 775 pound-feet of torque, and a 0 to 60 time in the mid 4-second range. They can certainly pace a race, can't they?
And this is a pickup truck. This is a big pickup truck.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I think it's pretty cool. I think it's a great thing to see, and who knows, we might see this happen again. But it's a good way to get the technology out there and kind of show it off. But hey, when we come back, we're going to tell you about Kia pricing out its 40-mile-per-gallon Sportage Hybrid.
welcome back to Cruise Control. It's your on-air automotive magazine. We've been talking about electrics and costs and mileage. And speaking of great mileage, Kia has just announced the 2023 Sportage Hybrid pricing. If you've ever driven a Sportage, you probably love it. You probably never refuse to sell it unless the wheels fall off. I've never met anybody that didn't love one.
Yeah, it's always been a sweet spot in the Kia lineup. It is really just it's one of the first small CUVs, I think, that got very popular. But
that's right.
The fact that you can get close to 40 miles to the gallon with this vehicle because it's a plug-in hybrid. It's a hybrid. That's right. So there's going to be a plug-in hybrid as well. But
it's a hybrid. It's roomy.
Remember what I said about Kia filling the void for, vehicles that are mass market? You look at this. Here we've got some pricing on it now. It is the first electrified Sportage Hybrid. It starts at $27,290. It's got a 227 horsepower turbo hybrid powertrain with 39 miles per gallon, the targeted number, more than 500 miles of driving range, and it's larger in every dimension with the best-in-class rear legroom and cargo room. This is a 2023 model. And the front-wheel drive hybrid LX starts at $27,290. Not a big kick up for all-wheel drive. You would go for $29,090.
Not bad.
And then if you want to go up to the EX, $30,990, and the top-of-the-line SX Prestige, still not bad these days, at $36,190.
And I would expect the bulk of the buyers will go with the EX because it's only $1,000 more than the base.
Yeah.
Now, can you buy one at that price? Maybe.
It's hard to say. I don't.
Yeah.
It depends on the dealers for sure, and it is hard to say. It's a new vehicle. Gas prices are up, so I don't know. I really don't know. It is. I can't wait to drive it though, actually, and it really is a. You look at some of the other things that you can get in this, including a 12.3-inch instrument panel display, a 12.3-inch infotainment touchscreen. This is like a luxury car for less than $40,000 with all-wheel drive and 40 miles to the gallon. Face it, if you don't have a hybrid, and you're probably not going to have a diesel these days, but if you don't have a hybrid or a very small subcompact car, you're not going to get 40 miles to the gallon in most cases.
You won't.
So to get that mileage is outstanding in an all-wheel drive crossover, I would say.
It is. And, whether we have high gas prices or not, it's just an intelligent thing to get.
Don't you find when you drive a hybrid, you noticeably burn less gas? You noticeably see it's not like, oh, well, yeah, that's nice. I'm getting better mileage, but it's noticeably less gas, and it just happens. And I think virtually every internal combustion engine vehicle that continues on as we transition to electric will be hybrid or plug-in hybrid, wouldn't you say?
I think you're right. I see no reason why that wouldn't be the case, because it just makes perfect sense. The manufacturers can make a much smaller internal combustion engine, relatively small battery, and of course the ridiculously reliable electric motor.
Well, the other thing though too is it will make things more expensive. So there will be a time probably when internal combustion engine vehicles are more expensive than electric vehicles, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
And so but as a switchover, I mean, let's face it, we just did the story last week on cruise control about the new federal numbers for fuel economy, which have to be hit very quickly within the next couple of years. And what do they have on their table? Yes, they're going to factor in a lot of electric vehicles, but if you make every vehicle a plug-in hybrid, and manufacturers have already started to do that. You know, you and I later are going to review the Jeep Grand Cherokee. You can get a plug-in Jeep Grand Cherokee full-size trail-capable SUV with a plug-in hybrid drivetrain. So I think it's going to be everything will be available with that, and that will be the way they hit that number. Moving electric vehicles in. We talked about Jeep talking about going to a straight 6, a new internal combustion engines. Probably the final run for them will be even more efficient, I would imagine, and that's what we will see in the next 5 years or so, I would imagine. And it's not unthinkable because we're already doing it with big vehicles.
It's just so practical. And, people are, of course, Americans are in general driving larger SUV type vehicles, and everyone's complaining about gas prices. But gee whiz, the gas is going to go up and down. So
yeah,
we got to look, as a society, we have to look a little further ahead.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. By the way, you're listening to Cruise Control. We are streaming this week, and we are glad you're along with us. We stream every week at this time, 10 a.m., as well as do our nationally syndicated radio show. And, of course, this content will be available later via podcast and also on YouTube and some of our other social media outlets. So one of the other things we talk about a lot, and we started the hour with, Les, was the idea that prices are just going way up on vehicles. The average cost of a vehicle, of course, is, what is it, like $45,000, something like that now?
I need to check, because the last time I checked, which seems like a month ago, probably longer, was 37. I think it was the average transaction price, but
I think we're into the 40s now.
We must be, because dealer markups and all that.
Yeah. Well, here's a vehicle that maybe some wouldn't think of, but they should, because it is a deal, and we like to bring that out to our audience. What's a good deal? And it is the Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross. For 2023, they're all going to come with super all-wheel drive, which is sort of what it got developed from the Evo super all-wheel drive. That's what I remember. And it starts at, believe it or not, $25,795 for an all-wheel drive vehicle. We'll tell you a little bit about what the equipment is in that. But even if you check all the boxes for the SEL with touring, you'd only be at $31,395. So, like, a lot of people may not think about a Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, but it drives well. I have to say, I drove one, I believe it was last summer, and I was pretty impressed with it. For the price, I thought, wow, this is a pretty good vehicle. Now, with standard all-wheel drive means you're getting probably a $2,000 to $2,500 former option of all-wheel drive right in the price, and the price isn't bad in today's world, is it?
You're right. I think now you drove an Eclipse Cross within the last year. The only issue that I've heard about Mitsubishi, they're great cars, they're very reliable, is that the interiors don't seem to be quite as luxurious or
all right. Well,
high level.
This is a 2023 model. I have not driven this one.
I haven't either.
They all are fitted with a 1.5-liter direct injection turbo engine, 152 horsepower, which is adequate, and a continuously variable CVT. They have advanced safety features across the lineup. And you look at the pricing once again. The Eclipse Cross ES is the $25,795 model. That comes with forward collision mitigation, hill start assist, active stability control. It has a 7-inch display audio with HD radio and wireless connectivity, steering wheel controls, heated side mirrors. You step up to the LE, which is probably a model a lot of people would buy. 8-inch smartphone link audio with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. That always seems to be the middle model where you step up to Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. It seems like that's like the mid model. That will probably be the volume model. Would you get a sunglass holder too, Les Jackson?
You get
people use those.
They do. Unfortunately, I never remember to use them.
Yeah. That's $27,045. Then the Eclipse Cross SE brings in artificial suede seats and navigation, electronic parking brake, a few more things, $28,045. Eclipse Cross SE brings the panoramic sunroof. SEL brings in paddle shifters and a black headliner, 8-way power passenger seat, heated steering wheel for $29,000. You're really pretty well equipped vehicle. And then, of course, the $31,000 one has things like heated rear seats, head-up display, forward collision mitigation with high-speed braking, adaptive cruise control, all that and more, as they say. So not a bad price for the Eclipse Cross, and that's
not at all.
Just something to check out if you're looking for a crossover and trying to stay around that $28,000 to $31,000 range. It is still possible to do. We got plenty more coming up on Cruise Control. When we come back, we're going to talk about, the credit card companies changing gas pumps, Les Jackson. That is a pretty interesting thing. They've had to change them because of high gas prices. So we'll talk about that and more when we come back on Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staub. The other guy you're about to see is none other than Les Jackson. We're glad you're here along for the ride at Cruise Control. And we're glad to always talk to our streaming audience. And, of course, we are streaming this week as we normally do. Normally, we also do the radio show at the same time. While Les juggles, actually you have those plates on the sticks, right?
Yeah, that's right. But many of them have fallen off and broken.
Yeah, that was something that was big on the Ed Sullivan show, I believe.
That was, you used to see it about every week. If it wasn't that, it was the trained dogs.
Exactly.
Jump through hoops.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, many of us have been jumping through hoops to pay for the gas bill, and it's interesting here. Sign of the times, Visa has changed the rules for gas pumps. They used to have a $125 limit that most of us never hit. Now this is just
knew it.
This is for passenger vehicles. Obviously, if you're driving a tractor trailer, you probably hit that a lot. But this is for passenger cars. They had to eliminate that because pumps were shutting off, and while card holders were refueling because they reached 125, and so they had to start it all again. And they're like, why did it shut off? And so for Visa transactions, they have lifted the $125 limit, and I believe they've raised it up to $175. And who knows, they might have to raise that again, huh, Les Jackson?
I don't think so. I think the prices are going to be coming down slowly, but in the next couple months.
Yeah. Well, average price for fuel this week, according to the American Automobile Association, was $4.21. I have not filled up this week, so I don't know. Last time I filled up, it was $4.49. So I don't know if that has actually come down. I'll have to look at gasbuddy.com or one of those to see. But just an interesting little tidbit to find that they had to do that, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Honestly, I never knew that there was a limit on the cards. I am the few times I've filled up recently, I'm hearing people standing there at the pump complaining, standing next to big SUVs. Just one guy complaining about the price of gas, and he was next to an Escalade.
It's sort of like dropping a shot put on your foot and then complaining that my foot hurts.
Yeah.
For some reason, I've got a lot of pain in my foot.
That's right, and I didn't say anything because you know what I would say. And
it would turn ugly. It would turn ugly.
It would turn ugly, and he's irritated enough. But I thought, well, why are you complaining?
Right.
But the fact is, we forget that most people are very, very tight budgeted, and a few extra dollars for gas means a lot.
Yeah, it absolutely does. So, especially if you have to use it to go to work or, transport a sick person around or whatever, it's a lot. Hey, let's jump back into this. Lexus is going to reveal its battery-powered EV soon, the RZ. And you're not going to believe what it has, Les. I'm just going to show you it. I'm not going to say what it is. This is a shot of the potential interior for the Lexus RZ EV.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, boy.
Shades of Elon Musk. It is a yoke.
Yep. It's a yoke.
The top of the steering wheel is gone.
Yep. Straight out of a DC-3.
Yeah, right. You just need that little clip on the airbag so you can clip your little pad on there with information. I would definitely get like go. You can buy the things in the from the people that scrap aircraft that will say Boeing 707 or something. You know, they were from the middle of the. I put one of them on the airbag. What do you think?
You have to. I mean, the silly thing is, I understand you want to look super modern and all that, but you still have to turn.
You still have to use it. It's a usable thing. It's not an ornamental steering wheel type of thing. Why are they doing this? Is it to see the instruments better, which is good?
You do,
but I think they. I don't think people are going to do well with these things. I personally don't want one of these things.
No, I don't either, because granted, regular driving down the street, no big deal. But when you're pulling into your driveway and you're turning a couple turns, toward lock to lock, or you're parallel parking, or anything where you're having to turn the wheel 360 degrees, it's going to drive you crazy.
Yeah. I mean, this is just like somebody saying, well, I wanted the vehicle to look cool in the back, so I made the rear window really small, and then you can't see out of it when you back up, or you just can't see out of it when you're driving along, but it looks cool. It's a price of style, but
it's like the Lamborghini doors.
Yeah.
Where if you're backing up, that you have to open the door and lean out with 1 foot out.
Now, I don't think this was too well received by Tesla. Why would Lexus do this? And is this just a trend stylists are pushing on us, in your opinion, or will we see more of these, or is this just gonna?
I think it's the look of advanced technology.
It's the look of taking a hacksaw to your steering wheel and cutting the top off of it.
Yeah, I mean it gives the impression that you're ahead of the curve, but I don't think it's going to do well.
Yeah. Well, here's what my thought is on it. They will supply vehicles with that standard, and then they'll say, oh, but for $2,500 more, you can get the full traditional steering wheel. And everyone will go for that. So that's just another way to maybe the steering wheel costs $500 more to put in. I doubt it, but they'll just there's already an aftermarket company that you send them your steering wheel from your Model S, and they convert it into a regular steering wheel with nice leather cover. They do it. It's a beautiful job. And what's interesting, by the way, when the Model S Plaid was driving around the Nürburgring, they took pictures, and it didn't have the yoke steering wheel. It had a regular steering wheel with the mark for center in place.
It would have to.
Yeah. So I just find that annoying and stupid.
Well, it is annoying, and it's one of these things where just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
You know what annoyed me? When they downsized cars and they made the rear glass straight up and down in sedans. That really annoyed me. I thought, that looks terrible. That there's no lines to that whatsoever. The design comes right to an end. And I don't know. Maybe I was the only one. Although they don't do it anymore, maybe I wasn't the only one.
People didn't like it. They didn't buy them.
Hey, here's talking about buying things. If you're thinking about buying a Toyota or Nissan EV and you're like, well, I'll factor in that I'm going to get a $7,500 federal tax EV credit, watch out, because they are very close to have both of them selling the 200,000 qualifying EVs or hybrids, and they will very soon. One is at 190,000. Which Close. I believe is Toyota, and the other one is 170,000, which is Nissan. So sometime this year, they are basically going to run out of these tax credits. Of course, that they say the records for that have been terrible, and they're probably giving away more money, more of these tax credits than they really intended to. But that will be phasing out soon for these. Let me ask you this: should we just phase out electric tax credits completely?
Well, the idea is to phase them out as the public embraces electric vehicles, which is really kind of beginning to happen now.
Yeah, I mean, you see many, many more electric vehicles. I mean, I see e-trons, I see i3s. There's not a lot of them around, but because they're just a strange car, the BMW i3. But a ton of Bolts, a ton of Teslas. Maybe the time has come to think about sunsetting that in the next year or so. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bill in the Congress to even increase the tax credit to just push clean energy, but I don't think it's going to be approved. I think
That was the one that it was 12,500 per car.
12.5. I just don't see the Congress and the Senate agreeing on that.
So
I think there are too many other things they need to spend money on.
and you're going to give a break to a guy buying a GMC Hummer EV that's spending $225,000. You're going to say,
yeah,
hey,
I've always felt that it should be needs based. That if you make greater than a certain percentage over the average household income, well, I'm sorry, you don't qualify.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It certainly is a strange thing. I think the time has come to basically wrap it up. Because it's sort of like they're still giving to people that buy hybrids. There's a small tax rebate. Yeah. I think it's $2,500. Now, I'll tell you what, if I was to buy one, and I would want it if it is if it's the law, but I tell you, I don't see how they could ever do the $2,500 credit, because a lot of people will buy these vehicles. Of course, that 12,500 will probably go right to the dealer. The dealer will say, "Oh, it's the law. I get the."
That's right. Here, sign this paper.
Yeah, sign over all of your rights to this. Yeah, I could see that happening, but who knows? We'd like to hear what you think. Is it time to drop the federal tax credit for electric vehicles, for hybrids, maybe for all hybrids and electric vehicles? Who knows? Of course, some states, I believe California still gives you a state rebate as well.
Some
right?
states, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, there you have it. We'll have to see, and we want to hear from you what you think. Just drop us a note on either our Facebook page or our YouTube page. So, hey, let's talk about something Mini has coming up, and this I think should have the in front of its name. It should have the HMS Resolute.
The
edition.
Resolute.
Yeah. Doesn't that sound like a Navy ship from the British Navy?
It was. It was a.
Well, didn't it do an Arctic expedition? Isn't that what it did? I believe the Resolute.
Well, I'm not sure where it went, but of course, the wood from the ship ended up in two identical desks. One is the one in the Oval Office. The other is the one in Windsor Castle.
Well, there you go.
Famous Resolute desk.
Well, there's not that much wood in this.
I don't think there's any wood in it.
No, but this is a new Mini Cooper S convertible. They call it the Resolute edition. Of course, Mini loves those special editions, and we love talking about them too. It always keeps it interesting. It has includes a unique side scuttles, headlight surrounds, some unique wheels, a very interesting wheel design. It has door sill finishers that have the inscription Resolute, and I would say it's sort of a yellow houndstooth type interior cloth.
Yeah.
Cool version. I often wondered on some of these unique versions, if you had to replace a wheel, if you got wheel damage or whatever, how available are the model-specific parts?
Well, they would be available for a certain period of years.
Mm-hmm.
you have to.
Yeah.
I think for 7 years from when you made the model. But after that, I doubt you'll find them.
Yeah. Well, current pricing on this, the Cooper S Convertible Resolute Edition in the iconic trim is $39,400. The Resolute Edition price adds $1,000, and that brings it to $40,400 for the Mini Cooper S Convertible Resolute Edition. Now, for $1,000 more, it might be cool to have something unique. What do you think?
Might be. Plus a modest price increase.
Yeah. But that's a lot of chips for a Mini, isn't it?
It is. Minis are not really inexpensive cars.
Remember, they are a BMW underneath, aren't they?
That's right.
Yeah. So what is a value on the Mini is the $850 destination and handling charge.
That's low by today's standards.
By today's standards, that is a true bargain. So, interesting that is that number. But hey, let me tell you about what's coming up in a little bit here as we move into the second hour. We're going to go on safari, Les. I hope you have your adventurer's vest at the
I have
ready.
my pith helmet.
Good. That's going to be perfect because we're going to Moab, Utah, and we're going to look at some of the concepts from Jeep. You know, they always have that Easter rally, and they take the concepts out and put them to work. So we're going to kind of run them all down if I can keep them straight in my head. Then we're going to talk about the New York Auto Show. That will show you what they're revealing. That is Kia. And then, of course, they had this interior rendering of the new.
That's beautiful.
Apparently, there's no steering wheel whatsoever in the next Kia Telluride, but that's one of the vehicles that is going to be revealed. And then I know you're excited about this, but we're going to have, as the Tesla turns, including a Cyber Rodeo.
Yep.
Across the board Model 3 price increase. And somebody is buying Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
That could be Elon Musk. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to do the rare review of the same vehicle.
We happen to have the same one.
Grand Cherokee L. That is the 3-row edition of the Grand Cherokee. It's about 11.4 inches longer than the standard 2-row. And I am excited. I found that to be one of the best interiors of any vehicle I've ever seen.
I just love this interior. And mine is a beautiful saddle brown.
Oh wow, mine was black with this great wood and the contrasting stitching, and
Yep.
I won't tell you the price yet, but in today's world, it wasn't terrible for a lot of people.
Yeah, I was surprised it was as reasonable as it is.
At least the sticker, we got the sticker right here, but
Same here.
here, I won't show you the price. But as far as, I don't know what you could get it for, but that's another story.
Well, I'll give you a hint. I had to pay $25 for the sticker.
Yeah, it's that bad. It's like, oh, you want to look at the vehicle in the parking lot?
It's going to cost you money.
That's $50 right there.
I'm kidding.
So, hey, we're going to have that coming up, and we got a bunch of other stories too. Synthetic fuel. 2 manufacturers are really getting behind it.
Yep.
I think that's an interesting thing if we could make it from waste or somehow. Make it from something that people are just used to throwing away. will it save the internal combustion engine? I don't know. We'll kick it around. So plenty more stories to go. We're also going to talk about. I'll ask you this question here. We'll do this story before we wrap up the first hour of Cruise Control. Ford's Illuminator crate motor, and this one we can actually call a crate motor because it is an electric motor.
Mm-hmm.
It's from the Mach-E. It packs 281 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque. It weighs just 205 pounds and measures about 22.5 inches wide. Of course, at SEMA, they dropped it into an F100 truck. They dropped 2 in, which gave it 480 horsepower. It is back and available. It costs $200 more. What would you put this in, Les Jackson? What if you had a project vehicle, what would you put this in?
Have to, an XKE.
Oh, that's interesting. Would you put two in or one?
No, just one.
Uh-huh.
How
about your Ford
maybe
Falcon?
Falcon would be a great,
or your Thunderbird.
A great candidate, or actually a 55 T-Bird.
Yeah. Now, it's not, that price is really good because you couldn't really buy you certainly couldn't buy an engine and a transmission for that price. But you still have to buy a traction inverter, a battery pack, and a control system. But all those things are available. So you probably could do quite well with this. Me, I'd like to go with something really light. I still talk about that Factory 5 Roadster. I put one in the front and one in the back for all-wheel drive.
Well, I don't know about. Yeah.
You got to get the direction of the motor though going right because otherwise.
You just change the polarity.
You just change the polarity. So, hey, we appreciate you all listening to Cruise Control Radio. I'm Fred Staub.
I'm Les Jackson.
We are going to see you down the road. So take care. We'll be right back with Hour 2.
Bye.